All right, this is Mike and Sam, our Connect 4 project. So we are going to start by just demonstrating exactly what we're doing with the game and demonstrating running through the game. So Mike, if you just run the command connect. Now this will work because Mike has installed a Ruby gem on his local machine to be able to run this from any directory. This will work if you do gem install sbc connect. So Mike is going to start just by demonstrating playing against the computer. So first it's going to print the board, and then it'll print it with your input, and then the computer's input, and then it asks you to take your turn again. Mike has beaten the PC. If you would like, or if you do lose, if you do happen to lose to the PC, it will print you've lost in the same spot. Now Mike is going to demonstrate just playing through with another player. So Mike inputted those downcased. You can notice that it's asking for a letter between A and G with the name upcased, or excuse me, capitalized. Mike, do you want to just demonstrate inputting the wrong thing? So W is not a valid input. Just ask for another letter. All right. And yeah, so we'll just switch off between Sam and Mike, player 1 and player 2, with X's and O's coming through there. Mike's going to build this board here to demonstrate a diagonal win. All right. I won one of my better performances. So good. But it does print that I've won and that Mike needs to have some better luck next time. So finally, we can just quit by pressing Q. Awesome. And run through a little bit of the code. Mike, if you want to take away with that cell.
Yep. So we started at the kind of building block for our game with the class of cell, which is going to default to a piece of zero or of a dot, so that when we instantiate these onto our board, the default value is just going to be the blank dot, so we can actually see a physical board when it's rendered. And then we have these add piece method. This is going to be for the player, if playing against a computer, or player 1, it's going to be the X, as we saw in the demonstration. The computer is also the O, which is also going to be our player 2. And then again, our empty is just this default value of the period.
Cool. Next up, we got the board class. Mike, if you could just scroll to the top. So board class, basically what this is going to do, it's going to take into reference everything regarding the board itself. So first it knows within that columns array what, or it knows to put 6 cells below each column to print out, and it does that with that columns.each method right there, to print out that board. We first are joining all of the keys at the top, and then as well transposing and reversing the columns. I want to specifically highlight this. This is a piece of code that we are pretty proud of. Figured we'd talk about it as we're running through right there, just because if you were to just transpose it, it will highlight that, or it will put the pieces in at the top. So by transposing it and reversing it, it knows to put the pieces in at the bottom and in the correct order. So that is a good little piece of code right there. The rest of this class is reserved just for checking for wins. So for both horizontal and vertical, they are pretty simple. Diagonal is a little bit more complicated, and would like to highlight this as an area where we would definitely want to refactor. There's a lot of repetition there, things like that, just not something that we had time to do with the time available, unfortunately. And then lastly, just checking, again, if there's any win whatsoever, this win game will return who has won the game. So X's or O's, who's won the game, or it will return false if no one has won the game. And then lastly, it's checking if the board is full to see if there has been a draw. Then Mike, you want to take it away with the game?
Yeah, so our game is where everything kind of comes together here, and we have a lot of puts and gets in the game, which is why it's a little big and why a lot of these have stayed in here. We see our welcome messages. We've got our want to play. Again, there's a gets here that's dictating kind of the course of how this is going to work with the input from the user. We have our edge cases here covered. If it if it's something other than what we're looking for to kind of navigate through these, it's going to give that error message that we saw when I tried typing the wrong the wrong input there. Give this the option to do it again. Our two-player method here is where we're going to create 2 new players, gets the names, and these are stored within the game itself as attributes. This is just for running our tests, the test start method here. And then here's our start method where we see it actually a new instance of a board and turn are created. And then we'll bounce over to the board class for the print board method. And then these user take turns. We left these in here instead of the turn because there is some puts and gets in these, and we felt they were just better suited for the game class instead of the take turn. And then after we finish, we see here our want to play.
Lastly, we just have our turn method. So excuse me, our turn class. So our turn class is going to just basically be responsible for doing the more, deep within the game stuff of taking a turn. So placing the piece, things like that will be involved within there. So that is kind of where we've got those as well in terms of placing the piece. So we've got a few different methods for these. Again, these are something that we are, something that we could definitely refactor a little bit. And if we had more time, we'd definitely be happy to kind of make them a little bit smoother, a little bit less of those, because there's definitely, once again, a lot of repetition here, but just something where just with the time available, did not do that just yet. But something that, it's working and working correctly. So that is kind of all of our code there. That's how the game works. Mike, you want to talk a little bit about tests?
Yeah, I'm going to cover just player real quick because we didn't totally cover this class. It's not much. It's just for our 2-player method of creating a new player that is going to be passed in as an attribute for our game. But this is where that's stored. And Sam mentioned, I think, even though if you input the name of a player lowercase, it's going to automatically capitalize that when it displays it. And then, yeah, our tests. Sam did the very, very diligent duty of creating these massive tests to cover for every possible win scenario that we have on the board. And we went through the rigorous cycle of testing all of these. So we have every instance that we can have of connecting 4 on the board horizontally, diagonally, anywhere covered in these tests, which you can see, like I said, Sam diligently put these in there. And if I were to run one of these, we can do our RSpec and board spec, and we will see the passing tests for these beasts here. And
Mike, you want to just do an overall RSpec as well?
Yeah.
Just make sure that
that
all of our tests pass.
No surprises here. We've gone through and covered all of our tests. So yeah, we have that covered. Anything else you want to talk about the code, or do you want to move on to kind of the last little bit of pairing and version control?
No, I think we're good there in terms of pairing and version control. We spent a lot of time on Zoom together. We were generally, during the bulk of the work that we completed, we were on Zoom together, kind of talking it over together. So a lot of our pull requests and our commits and things like that, those are actually us, verbally talking about that and telling the other, hey, I just sent up a pull request. You want to just check that out, merge it, things like that. And kind of, that's where a lot of the division of labor came in, was just kind of talking about it over Zoom. And if you want to show, Mike, I think we have something like 80 pull requests or something like that. Yeah, 80 commits, excuse me.
And I think we got 30 pull requests.
Yeah.
So like Sam, like you were mentioning, because we did about 90% of our work probably together on Zoom calls. Mm-hmm. We didn't get too specific with a lot of the comments for our pull requests and our commits. And when we were merging, because we were discussing those changes in live video with each other. So that's something we could probably improve on in the future. But overall, I think we did a pretty good job early on getting the workflow. I think it took a little bit of ironing out, but I think we got the hang of it by the end of the
Yeah,
project here.
we definitely got pretty a lot more familiar with the workflow and Git and stuff like that. Definitely felt a lot more comfortable with that as the project went along. Well, Mike, I don't think I have anything else to talk about regarding our project. Do you?
Nope, I think that's about it.
All right, have a good one.